Hello there. Look who we found. It's our old friend, Matt Atchity. Who better to talk about Gran Turismo? He's an actual expert on cars in real life and
video games.
And in this game, but don't call it a game. It's a
driving simulator. Yes,
simulator.
I mean,
Matt,
it's a game.
Is it a game? It sounds
game.
fun. Matt, we're so happy to see you. Our folks have missed you. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Good to see you. Okay, so Gran Turismo. Alonso, will you describe it, please?
The 10 of you are the best Gran Turismo players in the world. Now is your chance to race real cars.
Sure, it's based on a true story about a really good Gran Turismo player named Jann Mardenborough, who was plucked out of obscurity by a Team Nissan promo where they wanted to find the world's greatest Gran Turismo player, simulator, whatever, and make them into a real race car driver to prove how great the cars are, but also how great the game is in terms of really capturing all the verisimilitude of what auto racing is like. So Archie Madekwe plays Jann, and this is a sports movie. He has to overcome personal obstacles and learn to be the best he can be, and there's a crusty coach played by David Harbour, who's a washed up American-born Le Mans or Mach 1 driver, Formula One. I don't know. That's why Matt's here.
Matt will
walk us through all of this. And, he learns to be awesome. And along the way, it's a 2-hour commercial for the Gran Turismo game. Why not? And Ginger Spice is the mom.
Montage. Lots of montages.
A lot of montages.
So Matt, since you were the expert, how was this?
I liked this much, much more than I thought I was going to. I know that they were telling the story of Mardenborough. I knew that there was going to be, like, with any movie, you're going to take some licenses. There's some interesting creative licenses that I don't disagree with. If you don't know Mardenborough's story, you're actually better off not knowing that story going into this, the way things get moved around.
I knew nothing.
Ditto.
I did not know anything.
Yeah, I had known some because I remember when the GT Academy thing happened, but that happened in 2011. So that's 3-4 games back. That's Gran Turismo 5. And he wasn't racing until 2015. He was racing fairly immediately, but it was 2015 when he was on the long 24-hour circuits. So they compress 3 or 4 years of his career, of the beginnings of his career, into this what feels like one racing season. But that's okay.
That happens.
I like this a lot. I thought that look, it's tough to do a driving movie these days. I think you've got a lot of competition with everybody having done a Fast and Furious movie. I think that the racing scenes in here are good. I think that there are some good uses of the elements of the game, like which number he is in where he is in the pack.
Right.
And look, I'll get to my thoughts on the story in a minute, but I know that there's a lot of people who are going to wonder, what's like the game and what's not like the game. So there's a fair amount of things that are in the game that you see get representation here. A lot of Easter eggs too. Like one of the first races where they're going from a standing stop and you see the lights count down and, the tones are like, doo, doo, dee. Like that's exactly what happens in the game, right? That sound cue is from the Gran Turismo games. That early off, street driving stuff, none of that. That's a whole different thing. That's
from Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that's pretty much. But I like this a lot more than I thought I would, because I thought the story was solid. It's a standard sports movie, but I think David Harbour brings a lot to the table. I think his character really makes this work. Now, his character is a fictional character.
He's not a real guy.
As much.
Completely fictional. Probably some amalgamation of coaches that Mardenborough had seen throughout his career, but he's there to advance the narrative in a lot of respects. But I think he does a really good job of it. There's the scene where he's out driving with the kid, and they have that kind of there's a touching moment there, and I was now this may be because it hits a little close to home for me, but I was moved by the relationship between Mardenborough and his father. And, there's a moment later in the film that I bought into. I bought it. So I like this a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Djimon Hounsou is good, although part of me kept thinking we're getting a scene where the dad tearfully admits that he shouldn't have complained about his son playing video games, just for all the people in the audience to be like, yeah, Dad, fuck you, man. Look at this guy, you know?
Yeah, I liked it too. I did not know anything at all about this game going into it. It is total formula. It is totally the sports movie formula, the underdog formula. It's like a reality competition formula, but they find enough ways into that are lively and funny and feel smart and clever, like all the stuff that simulates like where he is in the game. I thought that was really cool. I like the thing where like the car forms around him as he's playing in his room, and then like,
later when he's in the car,
they revisit that conceit later on. I thought that was a really nice touch as well. I thought Archie Madekwe was great in this because it's sort of it's a tough role, right? Like he has to be the sort of like wide-eyed kid. He has to be confident, but also nervous, right? He has to be like the best, but also get knocked down in a way that we've seen so many times. And how does he make that feel fresh? And he's very, very likable in the role. David Harbour, man, is great in this because he brings that like crotchety, kind of crusty world weariness that he's so good at, but also like the sweetness and the tenderness underneath. And that scene you're talking about, Matt, is terrific. And he's just great the whole way through. Orlando Bloom is terrible in this.
Yeah, kind of. It's not much of a role, but yeah, he's not great. And I will say this, for all I like just to goof on the ginger spice of it all, Geri Halliwell Horton's actually really quite good in this.
She's so cute, right?
First of all, I didn't recognize her at first. It was like midway through the movie, I was like, oh shit, I know who that is. And then there's a scene where she has to deliver some genuine, like, powerful emotion and pulls it off pretty well. And she's doing it next to Djimon Hounsou, who is no slouch. And so like she's bringing it to this.
You bring up David Harbour, and one of the things that I like that he's able to do in this movie, like when he's doing the physical training with the drivers and he says all this awful caustic stuff, right? And in the hands of a lesser actor or a different actor, it would come off really obnoxious, but he sells it almost in a way that Tommy Lee Jones does. With like I could see a Tommy Lee Jones, like the attitude, like there's this undercurrent of, yeah, I'm being really awful towards you, but it comes from a place of honesty, call it. I don't know.
And standards. He has standards, and he doesn't feel like this whole process is up to that standard. Like he knows what it's like to do this job, and he thinks this is a farce. And so by the time he comes around to this kid, spoiler, it feels earned, Matt. It's earned.
Yes, it's earned.
We haven't mentioned Neill Blomkamp yet.
He directed
the director here. And I'm not his biggest fan. I think a lot of his films are sort of ambitious, but don't quite get to where they want to go. But he's always been a filmmaker who's sort of unafraid to deal with like big canvas and big effects and very kind of elaborate filmmaking. And so it might turn out that this sort of like assembly line studio filmmaking is his sweet spot. You know, because he knows how to juggle the big logistical stuff. And then if he's got a script that is bringing you what it needs to as far as the emotion goes, this might be one of my favorite films by him, even though it's not a film that necessarily has his sort of auteurism stamped all over it. And I do think this is definitely a film that benefits from like big IMAX, Dolby booming, just like all of that stuff. I think really underscores the sensations of this, because you, like the character, go from playing this game to being at, Le Mans or whatever,
Yeah, ass rumbling for like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like if you do see it in the biggest screen you can with the best sound you can, because this is an experience.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did.
And I'll say for those, for if you're a fan of the games and you haven't already seen the sneak peek for this, and you're even on the fence about this, I think one of the things that really makes this movie work is that there's clearly an affection, if not outright love, for the game. Like this isn't a script and a project put together by the marketing people, or if it is, it's someone who plays this and loves it and knows how to get the vibe across. And so as someone who played the game, I really like that here.
That's really important. Yeah. And it feels different to me from that whole litany of corporate origin story movies.
Right.
This feels like it's its own separate thing from Tetris or the Beanie Baby movie.
Or Flamin' Hot. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not that.
Right.
But it is an ad for Gran Turismo.
It is.
And the Sony Walkman, which still exists. I didn't even know.
And that's a good bit. I gotta say, that's a really, really good bit that comes around at the end again.
Yeah. And look, like, is it kind of an ad for the show? I mean, for the game? Absolutely. But it does an interesting thing is that it shows not just the game's context within the real world, the way something like King of Kong does, right? It's an interesting thing, like, that shows what a lot of people who are enthusiasts and the GT Academy is actually about, which is like, yeah, look, you could be so good at a particular game, at a particular thing. There's a future in it.
Cool. Yeah, I thought it was thrilling. Okay, so Matt, what's your number then?
I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big number from someone who knows this game so well.
Yeah, right. And some of it's surprise, like, but yeah, I like this a lot.
Cool. Alonzo, what about you?
I give it a 6 just because I think that it is such a piece of product. I mean, like it is never not selling you on not just that you should run out and play this game, but like how great this game is and how, precisely it's been put together. That said, it does deliver on the sports movie stuff, and it does deliver on, like you said, the sort of experiential thing of it all. So that's probably maybe a little low, but I think for what it is, like Matt, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
I will say 8 too. I had a really good time, and maybe part of that is expectations. I brought Nick with me to a sneak, and every once in a while he would whisper to me like, I don't hate this. And I'm like, I don't either. It's so fun. So yeah, Gran Turismo's out there. See it in the biggest, noisiest way you can. Matt, thank you for joining us and sharing your insights.
Good to talk about it.
Good to see you.
Always a pleasure, sir.